Welcome to the Own Your Life podcast, where our goal is to help bring hope, healing, and peace by sharing our experiences and inspiring you to own your life.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Own Your Life podcast. We are going to be talking about working together today. And I think this is probably one of our favorite things that we've actually done. And it's been kind of life-changing as far as that's concerned, working together with, my partner here in crime, Ashley, if you will. So, working together, we started working together when we started working out. And that was a different journey for us through working out and bodybuilding. And it all started with really just having to commit to actually having the daily habits that we needed to have to actually working together and working out. So I'm going to let you kind of talk a little bit about that, because I know that was a journey for you with starting to work out with weights and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember that I started working out, actually working out when I was 16 or 17. I had bought some of the gimmicky stuff from TV commercials, but I bought it in store, like the as seen on TV, home workouts, Jillian Michaels stuff, all of that. And that worked out really well for me. But when I met Matt, he is the one who, I wouldn't say persuaded. He just went to the gym every morning and I wanted to go with him. So I wanted to experience that. And he helped me a lot on lifting weights and technique and form, because that's really important so you don't hurt yourself. So I started getting up early with him, going to the gym. And then a little bit into that, I would say maybe 2 or so years into us going to the gym together, somebody there approached us and asked if we'd ever thought about competing in a bodybuilding show. And we said, yeah, we'd actually kind of been talking about it, but we weren't really sure, if we wanted to do that or not. So that kind of kickstarted us to focus on it and look more into it. And we did. We started training for it. And that was a whole other deal doing that. That's a very committed, disciplined journey.
Absolutely. Committed and disciplined is an understatement of what that is, because, really, it really affects every area of your life, because you really can't eat out anymore. You really can't do a lot of the other stuff that you need to do, and you have to work out really 7 days a week, 6-7 days a week, really, when it comes down to it. And
at least that's what we did.
Yeah. And if somebody knows a better way, we would love to hear about that, because we may have done it all wrong, but
we did have a coach, so we didn't do it blindly. I would say do your research on your coaches, because that's very important too. There are some people out there just trying to make money and don't really know what they're talking about, and that can be very dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is a lot of health concerns with it as well, just with, how you have to fast, how you have to cut, how you have to do certain things. So, we would definitely recommend, medical stuff as well as a coach and a professional at that, because it can be damaging to your health long term. That's for sure. But as far as the weight stuff and working out together, we made it fun. We had a lot of fun doing it, and we still have fun doing it because it's something that's a part of our life, and it's also something that we're really passionate about, something that has just been a life-changing experience for us in multiple ways, because we felt like if we could work out together and then we could really establish a, firm foundation on what we're doing, because it's all about the commitment to the little things every single day. And we felt that working out together was a part of our strong bond that we had. And that's one of the things that has kept us going for a while and kept us in sync, I would say. Wouldn't you?
Absolutely, because it's just something more that we have in common, and we didn't necessarily do the exact same workouts. Sometimes we did, and that was fun too, because we'd push each other. But other times it'd be like, you get to the gym, hey, I'll see you in 30, 40 minutes. I'm going to go over here and do this, and I'll meet up with you, after I'm done. So it was a really good learning experience for both of us, just to grow closer together and have a good time doing it. We love working out together. And now we don't always get to work out together because of scheduling. I know that with everything going on and gyms being closed, that we've been working out at home because the gym that we go to is not open yet. but Matt travels for work. So if he's not here, obviously I can't work out with him. And when we do get to work out together, it's just more, honestly, it's more bonding time. It's almost like a date sometimes, like having a date night, but going to the gym. And we work out early in the morning. So I guess date morning. But anyways, that's just been one of the ways that we've worked together. I think that's, like Matt said, has built a really good foundation for us and helped us in a lot of other areas because we have worked together on many things. I think one thing that we do really well as a couple is making decisions, especially large decisions like buying a house or wanting to move somewhere or a car, anything like big financial purchases that we're really, really good about making a decision. Even when we picked out our stuff for our wedding, like the gift registry, we agreed on almost everything. And I know not every couple's like that. And some of you probably rolling your eyes. You're like, are you kidding me? I wanted to kill my spouse during that process. That was not the process for us. We agreed on a lot of things. I think it's because we have a similar taste. So we like the same styles of things. And that, that's been helpful. But I would say if you have opposites in that department, that's not a bad thing. That could actually be better than liking the same things because it can get you to try new things that maybe you wouldn't try otherwise.
Or you can have the other spouse, like in our situation, is like agging the other one on, like just pushing you a little bit farther to go down that rabbit hole a little bit farther, which is not always a good thing either. So sometimes having the opposite would actually counterbalance that. And that maybe that was a part of our relationship that we feel is a strength, sometimes can be a weakness too.
Yeah, that goes back to when we talked about personalities. So since Matt and I do have a similar personality trait, that can be a really bad thing sometimes because we can butt heads and each be so stubborn that we think that our way is right and we fight until we get that outcome. But we've learned that it's really not about being right. And being right can be very damaging to the relationship if that's what you always want to be is right. It's not worth it. You got to pick your battles. It is not worth it all the time to be right. And knowing that working with your partner, you might have different ideas than them. And we certainly have. We don't agree on everything. And it's finding the areas where we can compromise, because if you don't do that and you just always want to be right, you're always isolating the other person. And I just feel like that can, like I said before, that can be really damaging to the relationship if you're not willing to budge, especially if that person is budging every time, that you are asking for something or have an idea. And maybe it's not the best idea. Maybe their idea is a lot better, but you're not even letting them say what it is. And I think it's important to hear both sides. I feel like we've worked a lot towards that, and we will, state each person's side and really decide what is better for both of us in the end, instead of what's better for me or what's better for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that sometimes, we were fighting for, who was right rather than what was right sometimes. And I know that there's certain things that you probably still remember from 5 years ago that I've done that you used to have a tally list for me. I think that was something that was used against me at certain points. And now we've maybe thrown that list away a little bit, but we still have it, I think, readily available if there is any questions or concerns about that.
Before he says anymore, I'm going to stick up for a lot of ladies. Not that only women do this, but it is sometimes hard not to keep score in your head and tally things and remember things, but using them against your partner, honestly, I've never found a time where that's actually been helpful. So I have been working a lot in that area because it really only hurts everybody involved, and you might feel good temporarily, but at the end of the day, if you're like me, you'd feel, bad for saying that or doing that or whatever. And it really wasn't worth it to, throw back the past in their face or, oh, remember this time that you made this decision and it turned out like this. So we're not going to do that again. There's a better way to say it. And I have definitely had to work a lot on that because I have a very direct personality and can be very blunt. And I think it's important that, we hear each other out and not throw the past in each other's face or each other's insecurities in each other's faces. That's just going to cause a lot of damage. And I feel like if you truly care about the person that you married, or if you're not married yet and just whoever your partner is, that you don't want to do anything to hurt them. And in turn, you wouldn't want them to do anything to hurt you either.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that that's what it's all about, is the mutual respect and mutual benefit of actually having that work. Because sometimes when you work together, you find out the strengths and weaknesses of your partner. And I think that's been telling for us as well, is that we really can find the strengths of what we can operate in and really find our partner in that as well. And I know that for me, there has been multiple times, but I've been wrong, and sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow. But however, when I am wrong, generally Ashley does have the counterbalance for me, and it really is helpful to be able to see what the right looks like in that certain situation. And sometimes we can't see past ourselves far enough to be able to see the gifts and strengths of our partner. And I think that's one of the best things that has happened to us in our relationship and working together, is just being able to see those gifts and strengths and be able to lean on them as well. But also learning the proper balance of not using them as a crutch as well. Because I know I've used you as a crutch before, especially in certain areas where I'm maybe bowed out. Like, for instance, when I kind of bowed out of doing laundry because, I couldn't fold the t-shirts properly.
You were fired from that position. Yes, absolutely.
So it was a mutual thing, but that's not my gift, strengths, or talents. However, now my gift, strengths, or talents lean on the dishes. I'm a good dish guy now, so I can do the dishes.
Very helpful. Thank you. I appreciate it. and that's another thing, working together as far as like house duties. Like, just because somebody might be home more than the other partner, that doesn't mean that all the duties have to fall on them. That's something that you guys have to have a conversation about, because I felt like for a while, like I was doing everything at home and it was frustrating. Even though we both work full time, I was home more. Yeah, it was frustrating. Mm-hmm. And I had to ask, hey, can you vacuum the floors and can you take the trash out? It would be very helpful, things like that. Because I know Matt travels a lot and I don't expect him to do everything, because that's not fair either. However, I don't expect myself to have to do everything around the house as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's just finding the right balance for everyone and finding the right balance for what it is for your relationship, because there's certain things that are going to happen. Even when I was not traveling and I was working 12 hours a day, I still wasn't able to do a lot of the stuff that we were talking about too, but I knew on my day off that I would be mainly doing a lot of stuff around the house to help out.
And have that conversation, because another point that we want to talk about, I feel like this goes perfect with it, is don't assume anything. Don't assume, just because, you're home more out of the relationship, that you have to do everything at home, or that the other person who's out of the house more assumes that you have to do it as well because you're home more. Because I feel like assumptions can cause a lot of arguments, as they have in our relationship. I'm sure they have in a lot of yours. And if we had just talked beforehand about whatever the expectation was of the other person, that the assumption would never have happened, and thus the argument wouldn't have occurred.
Well, I don't have any idea what you're talking about, because, I don't think that I've ever assumed anything in that area.
Right.
But I think that, part of that is growing and changing it together, too, because I know that for me, I did assume a lot of stuff that it was just going to be taken care of. And then when it wasn't taken care of, then I didn't understand. And I know that there is multiple people that are out there doing that, and you can't assume. You have to communicate better, and you have to communicate at a higher level, and you have to ask more questions. And that's one thing that I had to teach myself how to do. You've always been good at that, though.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I feel like it's still a work in progress for us. We still assume things sometimes, and it still leads to arguments. However, it is much less than it used to be. And we try to keep a bigger line of communication open between the two of us. There was a statistic, I don't remember the exacts of it, but you guys can Google this, that the average couple talks to each other, I believe it was 7 hours or less per week. It might have been 4. It was a very low number. And I was like blown away by that number. So of course you can understand how assumptions can be made and arguments can be had, because if you're not communicating, you're just going to assume the other person is doing whatever or thinking whatever, and you're not actually having that conversation to prevent that in the first place.
Yeah. And I think that finding the right form of communication too. Like for instance, when I travel, I know that you like me to communicate through Polo because you like to be able to see me.
Marco Polo, awesome app if you haven't checked it out.
But now if I'm close by and you are going to see me that day, then it's okay for me to call. But, it's just figuring out those things for you and how you can communicate better with your spouse and talking it out, because there's no right way.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to figure out what works for you. There is no one size fits all. Some couples might just want to text. They might want to text more, or some people want to call more. Some people want to do video calls. It's really whatever you prefer.
Sometimes when you are having maybe an argument, maybe Polo is the best. And the reason why I say it is because you can't interrupt the other person. You have to listen to the full message.
Yes. So if you guys aren't familiar, Marco Polo is an app, and it's like a video message that's live. So if somebody is on at the same time as you, they can watch you talking live. However, if they're not there, you're kind of leaving them a video message that they can view, whenever they want to. Mm-hmm. And yes, you can't be interrupted. So other than a call, it's not a back and forth that's live. It's you leave your message, send it, and then they leave their message, and that's sent too.
Yeah. But I think that part of that too, that I think is very effective in that messaging system though, is the fact that you can actually see the emotional side of the person who is talking. So there isn't a skewed view of it through like maybe text message or even through the phone conversation.
Yeah, because you can watch nonverbals. You can see their face. You can see, if they're happy or if they're upset or trying to act one way or another. It's definitely a lot easier to discern how the other person is feeling from how they look.
Yeah. Well, and I think the part of that is the delivery of it too. So, that's a part of every communication is the delivery and how you deliver the message versus, what it looks like. And as far as like making other decisions, what else do you want to talk about? The financial stuff? Maybe?
Yeah, go for it.
With financially, everybody should have some goals and everybody should have some ideas of where they want to end up financially, and what have we done? I'll let you kind of speak to the plan that we've kind of put in place.
Yeah, and we're going to do a whole podcast on finances in a couple weeks. But as far as financial decisions, I know that is a huge, huge stressor for a lot of couples, and actually can be a huge reason that couples are not together anymore. So we don't take that lightly at all. When making financial decisions, it's so important that you write down, especially if it's a large decision, whether you're moving or buying a car or deciding to go to college, something like that, that if you do have a partner, that you each state your piece of, why you should either move forward with this purchase or why you shouldn't, and give the pros and cons and think about the outcome of that. So, okay, so if I go ahead and buy this now, how's that going to affect me in 5 months, 5 years? Or if I don't do it and I either save that money or whatever, well, how's that going to affect? So really weighing the benefits and the consequences of it, and then making a decision. But as a couple, we let each other talk through what we're thinking, and not reacting right away when somebody wants to, propose an idea of, oh, I'd like to buy this, or I'd like to do this, or maybe this is a vacation that I would like for us to take. And maybe it wasn't something you thought of or agreed with in your mind when you hear that, but let the other side talk, and then state why you agree, don't agree, or how you can make that happen together as a couple, instead of shooting it down right away or getting upset about it, because that can just, like I said before, that can lead to so many arguments that really can be prevented if you just hear the other person out, really listen to them, because your partner is not going to ask you a question to make you mad. They're not trying to upset you. Like if Matt wants to go to Hawaii and I want to go to Alaska, obviously we've got a difference there that we need to solve, and arguing over it is not going to solve anything, but stating each person's side before making a decision is very helpful.
Well, who doesn't want to go to Hawaii would be the real question.
This wasn't a real argument. It was just an example.
I was to say, and if that's really the thing there, that's a huge difference. But I feel like there is so many different things that is the underlying effects of making decisions, though. When you're talking with your spouse, continue to ask more questions, because sometimes it's not what they're trying to buy or trying to save or trying to do with money or anything like that that may be the issue with you. It may be the fact that you don't understand what they're really trying to accomplish. So ask more questions, because I feel like that's the one thing that I did not do enough of when I would assume stuff, is I didn't ask enough questions and I just assumed that everything was going to be okay. And I know you can speak to that a lot.
Yeah, and honestly, Office Space just popped in my head, Jumping to Conclusions. If you guys have ever seen that, it's awesome, hilarious. And there's a part where this guy is all about making a game called Jumping to Conclusions. It ends up being a terrible idea, but it just made me think of that. Don't jump to conclusions on what your partner is wanting or trying to accomplish. Just hear them out, and that's on any area, but I mean, financially is a huge area, especially if you disagree on finances. That is a huge place to work out, because it is one of the top reasons that people do split up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like if you can really come together financially and have a plan and come together as a couple with some mutual things that you guys enjoy to do together, it's going to make it so much better and so much more effective for your relationship, making bigger decisions and not assuming stuff, because you're actually experiencing life together and not apart.
And the last thing that I want to touch on as working together with your partner is not to compete with them. This was huge for me. And Matt's laughing over here, of course. But even when we started bodybuilding, I felt like I had to compete with him, which is silly, because obviously, due to our size difference, he can lift more than I can and do more than I can as far as weight's concerned. He is also very athletically gifted, so his ability to do certain things is already naturally higher than mine. Not that I can't do them, but to expect to have the exact same level of athleticism as him or being able to lift what he can is ridiculous. Or even being able to lose weight as fast as he can or get the muscle definition like he could. It's like I felt like I was competing with him, which is absolutely ridiculous. He is a man. I am a woman. Our bodies are totally different. So for me to think that I can be the exact same as him in things like that, in progression and whatnot, was silly. But it upset me. It bothered me. And he's really good at certain things. And if I wasn't good at it, I would try to like compete with him. And it really bothered me. And it caused me to like resent him a little bit in certain areas, which is awful. You shouldn't resent your partner at all. And I had to stop competing with him. And I know it's cheesy to say like, oh, don't compete, complete each other. But I feel like that's what we do, because at least for me, when I felt like I was competing against him, I was like mad if I wasn't winning, which is so crazy. Matt's laughing again, of course. I don't blame him. But I just think that can also be very, very damaging, especially when you are working together, especially if you're spending a lot of time together. So us working together, not only in working out, making decisions, we've had businesses together, we've obviously traveled together, all of that, it matters to not view that as a negative and not try to be competing with the other person in all of those areas and more. And sometimes by working together, you are spending a lot of time together, and that can be challenging in itself, especially with now. I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing what they haven't experienced with COVID, that they are around their partner a lot more than they have been maybe ever. And it's important to find what works for you as a couple so that it's not all one way or the other. Oh, well, Matt likes this and I like this, and I'm just going to do it my way, and doesn't matter what he likes. That is not going to get you a better result as a couple and to be healthier together when you're working. And with working together and being around each other for a long time, it is important also to have healthy boundaries and being able to tell your partner, hey, I need like 30 minutes alone. I'm going to go over here, read a book, watch a movie, whatever. I'm going to go off and do this by myself. I just need I need a break. I just need to step out. If you can, maybe go take a walk, something like that, so that, if you do need alone time, you tell them and you don't just like leave, because you don't want to cause another issue that way and they think that you're mad at them. But just keep that communication open of what you need and listen to what they need and accommodate each other. Because if you are spending a lot of time together, it is easy to get annoyed and get frustrated, especially if it's multiple hours in a row and there is no break.
With just the competing side of it too, is that understand that there shouldn't be any competition between you and your spouse. There should be just completion and adding to that spouse. And it's really just completing each other and being a team together. And when you can be a team together, then you can accomplish more than what you ever thought you could before. And I think that was the biggest thing for us, is just figuring out that team aspect of being together. And that may be easy for some people, but when it's two high achievers, and being a team is sometimes a difficult story in itself, and just figuring that out. And hopefully all this stuff was helpful for you guys as working together, working as a team. Maybe you guys got some financial tips in there and some working out tips and how to not compete against each other. And really, we just hope that this has brought some hope, healing, and peace to you guys' life. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Thank you all for listening. If this added value to you, please click subscribe and rate and review us. You can also find us at Own Your Life Co. on Instagram and Facebook, and ownyourlifeco.com. And as always, own your life, because your life is your responsibility.